Yearning to play a few rounds of Gwent. That ought to set me straight.
It's Commander's Horn, episode 88. Today I'm joined by Team F2K streamer and Skellige specialist, Ashlizzlle, and we're back after another long break with a new edition of Commander's Horn. It's great to be back. Gwent news is still trickling out from Homecoming, be it forum posts or Reddit posts or interviews. There's lots to talk about, and of course we're going to talk about Skellige on this episode of Commander's Horn.
Is this the 10-second?
Yes.
Is that it? Okay.
That's the 10 seconds.
Okay, I got it. I read it in the script.
You know what I think I'm going to start doing? I think I'm going to start giving like a guest package to the people who come on the stream. Like, here's everything you need to know about McBeard's weird way of doing things compared to every other stream.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Oh, man. Thanks for coming on, Ash. Good afternoon, friends. Hello, chat. It's August 16th, 2018. Great day for your semi-weekly Gwent podcast. Today I'm joined by Ashlizzle. Thanks so much. The great Skellige champion. Chat's correcting me. The true queen of Skellige. Ash, how's it going? Good to have you.
It's going pretty great. Pretty great. Thank you so much for having me, man. It's awesome.
No, it's great to have you. We've taken a few breaks. I think I've been a little bit liberal with my breaks, and a lot of that is because I know Homecoming is coming. And it's going to have me working harder than I ever thought possible. So you can kind of look at this like a calm before the storm because, you know, we have Powell Burgess actually coming up after this show. He's going to be on the Manaburn show with Flake and Joe Snow. And who knows, he might actually say something. I mean, I don't think he will at the same time because when hype is built, people get let down, I think. And I think that we're in a stage where it would burn super hard. So
yeah,
don't expect it. But I still think that anything Buja is saying is going to be super interesting. So that's going to be coming up at 4 o'clock. And I know that, you know, that work is going to start. Once the leaks come, it's not going to stop. And then the PTR is going to be open, and then we're going to be playing it. And then we're going to be conceptualizing what's good. And it's going to be just months and months. We're going to go deep. We're going to put our heads into the sand, I think. So that's kind of why I took the break. But we're back here. We're back with Ash. Ash, I want to talk to you, just in case anybody doesn't know you. Who are you? How did you get involved with Gwent?
Well, I am Ashlizzle. I got involved in Gwent. Actually, it's quite the story. Actually, I was playing just like many others, I believe, for Gwent. Like I was starting off with Hearthstone. Like never really got that into it. But then my sister was a huge fan of like The Witcher, and then I played The Witcher myself too. Like, obviously, when there's a card game coming out in the Witcher universe, like you want to try it out, and that's basically how I got involved in Gwent, and then I enjoyed it just so much that I wanted to create content for it, and here I am.
I mean, in a lot of cases, that's kind of the journey we take, right? It's just, there's, when I heard that they announced Gwent, there was like a fire was like lit underneath me. It's like, it was like something was calling to me that I never felt before. It's just like Witcher 3 touched me. Like, so it was, I still think, like, I just started playing Zelda Breath of the Wild. That's a really, really, really good game, but not since that game. Like, that game stirred up the same emotions that Witcher 3 did. Just like a game unlike any other that is just so sprawling and expansive with lore that's just not traditional. It's just awesome. So, like, what is your favorite part of The Witcher, like, generally? Because you are a Skellige player. You like playing those Skellige veterans. A lot of people know that about you. See a lot of Skellige clan and Lizzle shields in the chat as you sent the host over. I love it. It's going to be a really interactive chat episode, I think, because you got your people here.
I got the clan with me. Well, it was like when I played The Witcher before I played Gwent, obviously, like I was more into like all the lore. Like I was really a fan of Yennefer, obviously. Like it wasn't really as much. I mean, Skellige to me was amazing, but it wasn't like until Gwent that I really fell in love with Skellige, because I joined Gwent in the closed beta when like the X-Men were really OP with like the frost that would like ping every unit or whatever it was back in the day. That's when I fell in love with Skellige, and then ever since it's been going. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
brutal. This is brutal, guys. Oh, I'm good, I think. I think I'm good. We're back.
All right.
Okay. So we may have to just cut that for the audio, but I've been having some technical difficulties with my mic, so I apologize if there's questions that cut out on the broadcast and on the stream. Ash can hear me on Skype, so
yes,
hopefully
okay.
if I am completely silent, hopefully Ash's answer kind of guides you to what I was trying to ask her. Okay. The other thing I want to talk to you about is you are a kind of recent addition to Team F2K. So how did that come about, and how has that been working for you? Because you were kind of as you grew in popularity. I think you were involved with Team Aretuza at one point, and now it's Team F2K. So how has that been working for you, and how has the team been helping you out with your streaming?
Yeah, obviously, like I came from Aretuza, and then I also came from Top Deck.
All right.
So it's been a long journey, but finally I'm at F2K. It feels great. Like they're really helping me out. They're giving me some great opportunities. Like they're helping me in pursuing my dream as like becoming a full-time streamer. So that is absolutely fantastic. They just contacted me basically after Top Deck fell apart, and I also put it like hint in my titles, like, hey, I'm looking for a new team, because like. I like to be on a team. Like I like people to guide me through my dreams, or towards my dreams, basically, I should say. So it was pretty good that they picked me up. It was quite awesome. I'm really glad they did.
Yeah, so you're on the same team as my co-caster Mega Mogwai as well.
Yes.
As some other really cool people that play Gwent and maybe used to play Gwent, but maybe not as much anymore. Like Trudon, I think Trudon's awesome. He's an MTG player at the moment, but he definitely left his place in Gwent, and also a huge Skellige fan. Trudon. So, and you stream every day, right? You stream almost every day. Like, what kind of breaks are you taking for yourself? As someone who just took one, just because I see you're just one of the most prominent people on the Gwent directory. I see you all the time. I see your tweets all the time. You're always talking to your people. What is it like streaming every day, and how do you deal with it when sometimes it's just not going your way?
Well, it's kind of rough, but I take one day off every week, so I got my days off. Like, it's not as if it's like constantly. I also stream like 5 hours a day, so it's not as long compared to others that do like 7 to 8 hours. But yeah, sometimes like some days it's really rough. Like been streaming Gwent for 6 days a week, 5 hours a day is, in this meta, like obviously that we're all waiting for Homecoming. Like sometimes it really gets to you. Like you try to hold in, like me, I'm a very emotional person in general. It's like sometimes you just try to hold your emotions. Like obviously you try not to tilt as much on stream, but like some days it's just cannot help it. Like if you get on that losing streak, I saw one tweet of yours once about how what was the tweet again? You tweeted about like getting tilted on stream, or like when you're not playing as well on stream as you would normally do off stream, that obviously like infects the way you are on stream. Like obviously I want to radiate like positivity. I want to try my best to keep it a fun stream. Obviously like my stream is more about entertainment and all of that, but sometimes like it just gets really rough certain days if you got on that losing streak, and then you try to continue, but sometimes you just bottle all your emotions up, and then you just gotta take a break. So I stopped my stream a bit earlier a few days ago because it just was getting too much, but I can handle it so far, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, like, we let these people into our homes, right? We let people into our homes, like, come hang out with me while I play video games. Like, we all want to have a good time, right? I'm playing games, it's a good time. We're watching people play games. Like, when I go over to my buddies' places and we're all playing games, like, it's fun just hanging out on the couch, watching, throwing out the odd jokey comment. Like, it's just kind of an expanded version of that. But if I went to my buddy's place and I sat down and I started playing, and I was, everybody was there, and I was just like super pissed off. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'd really be bumming out the party, even though I was like trying to run it. I guess it's not going over to my buddy's place. Everybody would be coming over to my place, and I would just be in a bad mood. It's tough. You don't want to cancel the party, right? It feels just as bad to cancel the party.
Yeah.
I've been going through all sorts of this stuff because you've been streaming for over a year now. Is that correct?
Actively was since November, I believe, or late October. Okay. But in total, like over a year, I would say so.
Yeah. It's like, every summer that passes, it's like that. Summer's a tough one. It's hot.
Yeah.
It's just everybody's got a different attitude about life in the summer. Not like it's just I don't know. I think it's a summer thing. I know Jagras is feeling that a little bit.
Yeah.
No, we're not supposed to be like a streamer chat or anything, but it's just because I've seen your tweets recently, and I also just took a break. And you've got such a dedicated fan base, and you do stream a lot, and you're a specialist as well. You got your fans here. You got your clan and Lizzle. What is it about Skellige that makes you a diehard Skellige player? And would you ever change your stream, or would you keep it specialized?
Well, obviously, yeah. Maybe with Homecoming, like stuff can change. I streamed like Pro Letter recently too, so it's not only like Skellige, but on like the main letter, I try to keep it Skellige because I just love him. I don't know. I'm very into like Norse mythology. So I like basically everything about that. I just like the aesthetic of Skellige, just to say so. I just think they're badass, and it's awesome. I love the graveyard not the hate, just the graveyard they have going. Like I fell in love with them in the close beta because of how much power they could like pull off, especially with the X-Men. So ever since, I've just been a fan and just roll with it, basically.
Oh man, a child born of the X-Men meta, like the bad one, like the X-Men meta that was just
the
so
horrible one.
brutally bad. Wow,
yep, that's it.
You are that meta's favorite child by far, then, because I don't know anybody who likes that meta. Man, that's like the most abhorred meta. One of the most abhorred metas, I think, because I mean that one wasn't even about complaining about it. That was about just crushing your soul on a daily basis and wondering how you could possibly go on.
Definitely.
Axeman. All right, well, I want to talk to you more about Skellige, but I want to talk to you a little bit about some news stuff has happened as well. This is the Commander's Horn podcast, and this episode of Commander's Horn is recorded live on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/McBearded. And will be posted on YouTube, where you can find me as McBeard. Commander's Horn is moving its recording day to Thursdays as an experiment right now, since my travel weeks have me home on Monday night. Doing a podcast on Tuesday, sometimes I'm behind. I don't have a guest ready. I haven't had a chance to do it. I've been working all weekend, so I want to make sure things are a bit better, so we're doing Thursdays, and this is kind of that first Thursday. So we're going to do that, and you can find all episodes of Commander's Horn at commandershorn.com. Subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, other podcasting apps, and send your emails to commandershornpodcast@gmail.com, or tweet at us at Commander's Horn. This week's show is brought to you by our sponsor, Veteran Cruises. Have you seen the world already? Or do you want to see Zaracania's Marvels too someday? Rent a boat with one of our grizzled, battle-scarred, friendly veterans today. But of course, this episode's actually brought to you by our commandos. Our patrons at patreon.com/commandershorn. Thanks for keeping the mics on in the podcast ad-free. My friends, we have a little bit of news to talk about with Ashlizzle, so let's get right into it. Now we'll talk about some of the new arena stuff that's coming out, or that's been out. And of course, maybe some homecoming news that we might be able to expect.
Yep. Sir, are you still there?
I am. I do these interludes. This is fine.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have a chance. I didn't have a chance to really explain a lot of the stuff because I got held up by little things all day today. And the technical difficulties with my mic is probably the last straw for me. So thanks. I do pre-news, pre-strategy, pre-final goodbyes. There's little interludes on the podcast. The chat loves it, so I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Top story, small story, Bronze Arena mode. Have you tried Bronze Arena mode?
Yeah, I tried it just before I went on the podcast. It is interesting. It's very interesting.
It brings a lot of extra value to the cards that normally wouldn't be, because you're more likely to see more of them. But it also means that it feels like, did it feel like a lot of really autopilot on what the best card to pick was? Or did you find synergies building kind of halfway through that changed the way you made your picks?
I mean, like, whenever I play Arena, or, like, I think that's in general, like, you always try to find that hidden synergy. Like, you could see that with the monster-only Arena mode. It was before this. Like, people picking 20 crones, like, just to say it, like, over-exaggerated, obviously, but it's, like, a lot of crones. I think in the bronze one, it's very difficult to say. Like, obviously, you want to take the engines, but you also want to have, like, engine removal. I heard about someone that actually made great swords work, which is crazy. But yeah, I think that's like one of the fun things about Arena. Like, it's not my favorite to play, but just finding those hidden synergies in like cards that you just get thrown at you and you just have to choose. I think that's pretty fun, but it's quite difficult in the bronze one. But it's a challenge, so that's good.
I mean, I think it's interesting that like certain bronzes that are normally not great in Arena, like Freya's, let's say. I mean, they're not bad, but they're not great. But when you are given so many units that Freya can res, like a card like that significantly goes up in value and that kind of thing. So I think it's cool. It's kind of like Pauper. Like if you follow Magic the Gathering, there's a mode called Pauper where you can only play with common rarity cards. So that basically changes the entire meta of like what you could possibly see and what's strong. Whatever bronze cards are strong probably will slide over there, but giving different values to cards like Freya's and other things that work with bronze cards. I'd like to try to draft like 10 Temerian infantry or something like that. That would be great. Well, 9. I would only want 9, I guess. I don't want to fill the row.
Yeah, I was thinking of like experimenting or trying to pull a Queen's card deck off, but I haven't seen one so far, and I think it's going to be pretty difficult. But if you get it, it's some Reddit material right there. You can make it happen.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of Reddit, though, that's a great segue. There's a great thread right now on Reddit called it's like basically a compilation of all the homecoming information we know to date. I'll put a link in the show notes for it. And if anybody is on Reddit, they can maybe throw it in the chat. I think I have links open at the moment. But the cool thing about this is that you can keep track of kind of everything that has been released, because while there hasn't been a formal presentation or video or any visuals or mechanics shown or so many question marks, there have been some leaks of information, like there's only going to be 2 bronzes in a deck, or there's only going to be there might be 30 cards in a deck. And I saw one very interesting one that there could be a deck building resource, but I find this one very interesting because the link to the resource was actually a video that Swim had posted, and I didn't watch the video, so I don't know what he quoted, so I don't even know if it's actually true. But it's probably the most interesting concept that I heard, true or not, that deck building would actually have a new way of providing like you'd have like a salary to what you can put in your deck. So your value game in Gwent would be less about playing cards for value based on if they're bronze, silver, or gold, but more so what they were worth to put in your deck and how much you could squeeze out of them. And I think that's like, that just opens up so many questions. Like, what if there's like a leader that lets you have like a higher salary or something like that? Like, what if that's like a direction that they move in? Or cards that somehow reduce other cards of certain types so it enables archetypes that wouldn't otherwise be available. Like, it's just, that blows my mind, and I really hope that they're leaning towards something like that.
I think so. Like, I think it would be very, very interesting for sure. Like, not sure exactly how they're going to do it. I thought I read something on like the Reddit thread about that, like the cost, like you explained, like the cost of like golds. So you could have like 4 or 5 golds in your deck if you want to, but then like you have to compensate with your silvers and all of that. I think it's very interesting. Like, it's for sure more room for creativity in deck building. I'm kind of excited for that. I hope it's true.
Yeah, and like the cool thing is, like, let's say you spend all your salary on like the best players, right? The big golds. You buy the MVPs of the league, and that forces you to fill up the rest of your deck with like trash. Does that mean there's going to be zero resource costing cards, like a bronze card that costs 0 to put in your deck but has a baseline of, let's say, 10? Because that concept is something that can be built on like throughout every like principle of like what a card's value is. Because if something that's 0 gets you X in your deck, that means that you can kind of balance all this sort of stuff. Like 0 starts at 10, and every point beyond that starts, they put a value on each point here or there.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that it's actually microwaving my brain, and I really hope that this is true, because I think that that's the kind of stuff, because Gwent's always been a deck building game, right? You read the meta, you put your techs in. I think so. It's really awesome. I think that it would be
great for sure. It's a lot of potential there.
And we also heard a little bit of a leak today on the CD Projekt Red forums. Powell answered a question saying that Dagon's not going to be a leader anymore for monsters, but Woodland Spirit is. Interesting here. First of all, the units are arguably very, very similar. They're both 8-strength units that create weathers, so it does seem a little redundant. Do you think that might have something to do with it, or what was your take on that?
I just heard this for the first time, because I knew that they were gonna like take Dagon out, but I didn't think they would replace him with Woodland Spirit. I think probably the reason why they did it, I'm not quite sure. Like, probably has something to do with lore. That's what I would think about. Like, I'm not that deep into the Witcher lore, so I don't know. But I think it's just gonna be the same as like they did with Dagon, or they're gonna like change the entire abilities. But I mean, at least they still have a weather leader for monsters, so that's good, because I was pretty scared that they wouldn't have that anymore with Dagon gone. Well, obviously Aridin, but
yeah,
they're gonna change it around, and we'll see how it goes. I have no idea. I hope they just keep something with weather related over there.
It's so weird because it's like Aridin is like always been the frost guy, and Wild Hunt is tied to frost in The Witcher. You can't take frost away from Wild Hunt. But Dagon has always been the fog leader, and Woodland Spirit is a fog gold card, so it's kind of clear that they can't take the frost away from Aridin. Like, flavor-wise, it makes no sense to me. So I feel like it's always going to be, Aridin's always going to have a frost element to his gameplay, and this new weather leader is going to have a fog element, I suppose, or they're going to give it a new ability altogether, which is weird. Then why would they choose Woodland Spirit of all the other golds? They could pick, like, Draug could be a monster leader. He's actually more leader-like. He's basically, spoiler alert for Witcher 2, 3, 2, 1, the reincarnated Vandergrift in monster form. So that's who Draug is. You can see it in Vandergrift's blade art as well. So it's weird that they would pick Woodland Spirit. I mean, Dagon and Woodland Spirit, they're both side quests, right? Dagon's not like, I mean, for people in the chat, like, Dagon's not, I never finished Witcher 1, but it's never like, he wasn't like a big side quest, right? Like, he wasn't like the Omega weapon, like Final Fantasy style of Witcher. Did he have extra significance, or was he just a hunt? I don't actually know. But I just find it really, really interesting that they're still making sweeping decisions like that, making maybe familiarity one of the biggest casualties of this revamp. I mean, do we feel like, I feel like they're stripping a lot of Gwenty things away from the Gwent game, but they've been doing that the entire beta. Do you think that flavor is actually at risk here, or that, you know, it's going to all be worth it for good gameplay?
That's a very interesting question. I think, like, obviously, I'm quite sad to see, like, the 3 rows go. I'm pretty sure, like, they have their reasons for it, though. Like, did they say something about, like, they want to have, like, more effects, kind of Hearthstone style whenever you play, like, legendaries? I thought I read something about that. Yeah, so I think, like, that's one of the reasons they do it. Like, I'm still quite sad to see it go, because it's kind of, they want to bring Gwent back to, like, the way it was Homecoming, but then, like, they're changing one of the most, like, iconic, when you think about Gwent, like, you think about a board with 3 rows, you know, and then they're gonna pick one out. So that's, like, quite, I mean, it's quite interesting to see, but I think it's worth it if, like, it means the game is, like, obviously gonna be better. I think that will be definitely worth it. I think people will still stick around for sure, and definitely with Thronebreaker, that's also gonna be there. Like, I don't think people will probably leave. I still think we feel the same Gwent, or that's what I hope, that it still feels like Gwent, even though it might look different.
I mean, it's really like, how is nostalgia going to play a part? Is it just going to be like, this is Witcher stuff and we love The Witcher, so we just want a good Witcher game no matter what it looks like, no matter what has to be changed? We just want a good competitive Witcher game that's fun because we love The Witcher? Or is it like the battle that now that battles with, like, the war of nostalgia? Like, no, it should be 3 rows. No, like, golds should be, you know, golds need to be immune. There needs to be more immunity in the game. So it's like these clashing of opinion. This is a war that's happening right now. In the general space of, like, community opinion. This war is happening right now, and eventually we're gonna get to see Homecoming, and it's going to fuel the fire, because it's going to be, for some people, wow, this is great, this is what I want to see. But it's not going to be like that for everybody. And there's going to be a group of people that says, no, this is not good. And then the war is going to continue. I'm optimistic about it. I wrote actually a really long article about it today. I posted it on Patreon. It's a free article. If you're listening to Commander's Horn, you're probably already familiar with it. It is Commander's Horn. It is patreon.com/Commander's Horn. I posted a bunch of stuff for, like, a little newsletter, so check it out. I may circulate the article maybe on Reddit or something, but I really just wanted to get out why I'm optimistic about Homecoming and why I think it's going to be fine, and why I think we ultimately should just want a good Witcher card game. I think, are we agreed on that? I just want a good game.
I definitely agree with you, man. Definitely. Like, I'm optimistic too. I'm excited. Like, I trust CD Projekt. Like, I think they'll do something great. It might not, like, look the same, but there were also people, like, the people that are complaining about the 3 rows are probably also the people that changed about, like, the UI change. Obviously, like, it all went, like, there was, I'm not entirely sure what it was. Was that with, like, gold immunity gone? I'm not sure, but they changed, like, the UI. Obviously, like, it used to look different. Same people are, like, they were complaining about that too. So I think there'll always be people that are complaining, but I am optimistic, and I think overall, like, the most of the people are really excited to see, or like to have Gwent back, like to see the new updates, like see new cards being introduced. Like obviously they are talking about a new faction. So I think that like there will always be war. People will always be like disappointed, but overall, I think it's just best to stay positive, and I think we'll have a great game.
I think like what I want the Reddit landscape to look like is somebody being like, oh, I really don't like how they changed this, and then like a whole group of people just be like, yeah, whatever. I want to talk about this new strategy I thought about. I want to talk about like this new idea, this new concept, this new archetype that they're building. But they took away the red. Yeah, shut up. I want to talk about like Northern Realm is awesome now. They got all these new like this new mechanic I never thought. Like I want there to be more of a buzz about the game than any of the haters can even manage. That's my perfect world, I think. Yeah. Because honestly, as I've said on my stream many times, I'm a tree hugging hippie. I just want everybody to get along. I want to have fun with everybody. We're all here to have a good time. Yeah. And playing Gwent should be a good time. Now, you play a lot of Gwent. You play a lot of Skellige veterans, and I wanted to talk to you about Skellige veterans. I played a chunk of games yesterday and the day before as well, so I'm up to speed. So I'm going to do a little strategy drop, and I'm going to come right back to you, okay?
Sounds good.
Let's talk Skellige veterans right after this.
Maybe not today and not tomorrow, but someday someone will find a way to take you down.
She is the true queen of Skellige. Ashlizzle plays veterans all the time on stream. In fact, I'm curious. Now, am I exaggerating when I say all the time, or do you play veterans? What would you say the percentage of times you stream and you're playing veterans? Just to give everybody an idea of how much of an expert you are.
That's really rough. Well, like let's just put pro letter out of the way, because on pro letter I barely play vets. Normal letter, I would say like at least 90%.
90%?
At least, yeah. It is my personal quest to get like to the top with tier 2 veterans. Like not a lot of people are playing them, but I am here to make them great again, or make them awesome, make people believe in them.
Yeah.
Even though it's rough.
I think 90% is specialist status, but I actually have always loved Skellige veterans. When they released the card, they first released the card. It was the first card that I tried to like bust, like completely break, and it's been nerfed over time. It can't be a soldier. It's just way too strong. If it's a soldier, it makes Freya's just out of this world overpowered. Yeah. So. And alternatively, it makes the entire deck overpowered because you're dropping like 7 strength Bearmasters with ease. So I too would like to run 5 restores in my deck, but unfortunately, you can't actually resurrect veterans outside of Sigdrifa these days. But the deck has survived Krokon Crate, Alzur's Double Cross, some of these builds, being able to, and Reconnaissance. Triss Telekinesis did a world of good for the Skellige veterans list, because Skellige veterans are a harder unit to tutor, since of their strength level being kind of in the middle, like at 7, kind of in the middle of where most bronze units land, and also not having a tutor that Skellige has, like in the Heme Spear Maiden. So that's where veterans have always sought that challenge out. But you can get there. Drop 3 veterans. Either you get a great hand, Croc can do it, but Bran can do it too. Bran runs veterans as well. You prefer Croc veterans though, right? Between the two of them?
For sure. Yeah, definitely Croc. It's like, it's more guaranteed. Like the more veterans you can have guaranteed without having to sacrifice other cards, like that's what you want. So Croc can almost always guarantee a vet, and that's why he's probably, to me, better than Bran.
Yeah, so we're talking about the Tursark veteran, of course. I just put it on the screen for you guys. Just in case you just need a quick reminder of all the details. It is a support. It is a Tursark clan, so it does buff itself, or buff other units there. But what I find really enjoyable about both the Bran version and the Croc version is just how easy it seems to be to run Morkvarg right now. And one of the big things for me is Morkvarg and Skellige is just, I mean, for so many metas in the beta, like Morkvarg's always been like a standout landmark card for Skellige. But I think when the coin is more menacing than ever in a world where you just have the one spy and there's no abuse anymore, carry over to the extent of Morkvarg as like protection on blue coin is massive. With like, I like playing Heimskall Morkvarg like right away. Like that's the combo that I just love opening with, and it just seems like he's such an MVP. Do you run Morkvarg in your list?
Yeah, of course. Like I don't even like some people run more like back in the day run veterans without Mork, but I think definitely in a meta like this where almost every list is like so refined because we've been in this meta for quite a while. I think it's crucial to have Morkvarg, especially now that tempo call fight is becoming a thing. Like people are constantly like, trying to abuse coins still, like to the like as best as they can. So definitely with veterans, like in the end, it is just a 7-point play you do a 7-point play. That's not a lot. Like that's barely any tempo behind it. Like the tempo comes in as soon as you start playing like your other bronzes. So you need to have some protection. I think it's crucial to have Morkvarg for sure.
And now, when you play Croc on Crate, do you use Croc generally to pull? Do you ever use it for Morkvarg, or do you prefer the Heim combo there, and you prefer Croc to be the veteran generally? Like how? Like I've learned a lot about the opening plays of veterans. It just seems like there's a lot of high tempo options that still get you where you need to go by playing your veterans early. But sometimes your hand doesn't always lend to that. Like, what's the ideal situation?
I mean, I would definitely like agree with you. It also matchup also matters, of course. Like. When I know I'm against Alchemy, like I know and I can have the option to have Skjal Morkvarg. Obviously, you want to take that, and then preferably have Udorik in hand, so then you can like Heim like the Guardian and make their Vilgeforce like less. But preferably, I would always say like we want to always get Morkvarg out through like almost never through Croc. Like in some matches, like I was saying, Heim Morkvarg is like what you want to do. And then, like I said, Alchemy, like they barely have a tutor for their spy. So if you have Morkvarg with carryover round 2, you can still play your spy, and it's cheaper than his spy. So that's honestly like what you want to do. I would never try to pull the veteran through the Morkvarg through Croc, because you just miss out on points. Like you miss on that potential like extra veteran, and that's like so crucial because you don't want to be stuck with a vet in like round 3 after there's certain cards in your graveyard. Like you want to get like max value. I think veterans overall is just all about like optimizing. Like if you lose a few points, like I had it a few games ago, like I sequenced it in a way that I decided to play veteran first and then like resurrect something later. You lose a point there and end up losing the game by a point. So I feel like that's lots of people are like obviously like a completely different subject, but lots of people say that veterans like brain dead. That's what they like to call it. But honestly, like you have to optimize it so perfectly, especially in like a meta like this. It's obviously at the end of the day, it's tier 2. So it will always like lack damage, or like, no, not really damage, but like lack power, where tier 1 decks like have that. So if you do not optimize it like to the best of your abilities, like you almost always lose.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like getting back to it. Like that's why if you can get out Morkvarg through like Skjal, and then you have the carryover on your veteran, or maybe even something else if you can. Like sometimes it can be on the hunter. That's obviously way better. Like it's just optimizing it the best that you can, and the carryover on the veteran, like you can res it with Sigrifal later on. It's just way better to do overall. Or like that's how I like to play it. Like getting Morkvarg to Croc is like the last thing I would want to get out of Croc, basically.
Sure, but the cool thing is because Morkvarg's at 9, if you actually have a hand with 3 veterans in it, let's say, well, then you're probably pulling hunters eventually, and then that makes it a great res target. So you're right, yes. And playing Mork from hand is, of course, even worse. So I think that, that's good. So I just think that, Morkvarg with Heim and Skjal just seems like a real MVP. You were talking about some of your matchups with Nilfgaard, how you might want to be using Heim to get the Guardian and kind of screw up Vilgefortz. Generally, what do you find one of the hardest matchups for Veteran? You say it's tier 2, but it does excel over some control because you can't really disrupt it, right? Like all the pieces are just value on the board. So I found control matchups to be more favored because you can get less value if you don't give them too many big bears to hit, like Alchemy, I'd say. But generally, where do you find the easy matchups and the hard matchups for vets?
Hard matchup, definitely great swords. Like my win rate against Croc is just no matter what coin. Like red is obviously a bit better because like you can Morkvarg can kind of carry you, and you just try to sneak guard advantage in. But I would for sure say greatswords is like the most difficult matchup. That's why I'm kind of struggling this season and like the past seasons too, because the more greatswords there is, like the more I will lose. So it's a risk playing them. I would for sure say the better matchups overall. I would say alchemy. That's like a good matchup for the veterans. Nilfgaard in general, hand buff is also like you cannot really do a lot, or the package I run with my golds, like hand buff is another terrible matchup. Like they just pump out so much bronzes, like
I don't even count that as
insane.
A matchup.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
It's
so
that's
a hard one for sure. I wouldn't say it's an easy matchup, but it's definitely winnable. Shoop, Skellige, yeah, for sure. You can win that one. I wouldn't say easy, but it's definitely possible to do so. Full test is like we're encountering like a lot of full tests on the ladder recently.
I like full test a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
I think the full test right now is my favorite leader and deck right now. Like it feels kind of like veterans in that you're just playing good cards and you're just winning with good cards. Like it just doesn't seem like the strategy isn't there. Like you're not going all in. It's not really tight. It's just sometimes you got to watch your crewman, and open passing doesn't really work for you, and you don't run a spy. Yeah. But it's it's got its own thing. And I also just want to touch on how you said veterans are brain dead. It's interesting that you say that. It's interesting that people say that, because there's like two ways to look at it. If a deck has like, it's kind of like when you look at something like if you look at Hearthstone and you look at aggro decks and you say, well, that's brain dead. Just hit the hero until they're dead. Just go face.
Yeah.
Smork. You know all the jokes. But it's funny because those are the kinds of decks that you got one side that says they're brain dead. There's only one thing you do it. And then you have the other people that are like, no, because it's so streamlined, you need to make the small decisions that end up being the most important, because you do have options, because your cards all get value one way or another. You still have to plan for stuff. Like you've got Hunter Pings, they can help you. You have Coral, that could help you. You still need to plan for stuff. So it's the small decisions. So you honestly will have two camps of people. One, people say that, it's a good deck. It's not tier 1, it's tier 2. So having small decisions that matter make it a high skill cap deck. That's kind of like more what I believe, because if anything is tier 2 and you want to win with it, then you do need to have a higher skill cap to do better with it. If you're actually just talking about win rate averages and card and like deck power level, good players can win with all sorts of stuff. So that's the way I look at it. Like anything that is in tier 1 is automatically have a higher skill cap, because the tier 1 decks, not only are there guides and guides and guides that teach you exactly how to play against every matchup with these great decks that are super strong, but also you are also playing against them a lot, so you kind of know how to beat them at the same time, so you can kind of work on try to break against the counters that could be against you. So I think it's much harder to play a less popular deck that you can kind of really dig in and be a specialist with, and make it an easy deck. Like you make it like like veterans in your hands, it's tier 1. Veterans in general, maybe tier 2, right? Like that's probably...
Thank you for that. That's awesome that you say that. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
I'm just saying, if I was in a tournament against you, I would have to do the respect ban. I would have to ban Skellige, because that's got to be, even if you had a deck that I'm like, that's probably better than veterans. She'll play veterans perfectly, so I don't want to put myself in a position where I would make a small mistake.
Yeah, like I did some community tournaments back in the day. Like eventually I just stopped, because no matter what I did, Skellige always got the ban. So I'm I'm like, it's just, you're like, oh yes, I'm gonna get this guy playing veteran instantly banned, and like here I am, like, what is my opponent's best deck? I don't know, but for me it's always Skellige bans. That was pretty disappointing, but yeah, it's for sure like awesome to be known like that, like that you the fact that you say like that vets in my hand can be tier 1. That's exactly what I try to do every day, and that's why I'm constantly like hammering playing that deck, even if it's like so frustrating at sometimes, because like you just against greatswords you're just powerless. It feels like you can try whatever you can, but you're just powerless. Same with consume. You have one coral to try and make it happen. You have to do your best to get to a top deck battle. It's so like, I don't know. I like the challenge. That's what guides me towards playing veterans so much.
I mean, for me, sometimes like, I was going to actually ask you what gets you coming back day after day, but you said it so well there. I'm not going to ask you to say it again. But I do find that in a lot of cases, like playing Coral is sometimes easier than drawing it. when it's like, coral in my hand, round 1 for every other matchup except for Consume. Consume, bottom card in the deck. You know how it is. On stream, we put it on. We put it on display for everybody. If that old confirmation bias that can be. So anyway, that's good stuff. Any closing remarks you have about Skellige that you want to say to the world?
I want to say
about veterans.
About veterans. Yeah. That's real difficult. I would say give it a chance because it's pretty fun to play. It's pretty fun to play. Like, obviously, if it was horrible or like not or boring to play, like I wouldn't be able to play like 90% of my matches veterans. It's honestly fun. If you like a challenge, I would say just try it, especially in like a meta like this. Against Nilfgaard, obviously you could get some easy wins. Against greatswords, it is on. You gotta get lucky. You gotta have a red coin. Like, you gotta try your best. But overall, I think it's challenging to play because of how certain matchups you can just do nothing against. But it feels even better just winning those matchups. Like, it doesn't get better than that. Like, I recently defeated a full-on Sabbath deck with Olgierd.
Yeah. Oh, Sabbath is tough.
Yeah, Sabbath is really tough for veterans. Like, some people run the champion of half in there to just counter him. But I mean, I don't think I've ever felt better after beating that Sabbath guy with a 2-0. That was like one of my, like, it just feels so good to win those matches when you're like insanely unfavored. It's just great.
Yeah. As a closing remark, I would also like to say that for all the grief and for all the anger that Sabbath has brought into a lot of Gwent players' life, it has also brought a gift that very few card games can really give, and that's the catharsis of destroying it. It's just that's what a nasty card or a nasty deck really does. It makes you win games and just be like, oh,
yeah, that's literally what I did.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff. Like, and especially again as streamers, I'm sure we can understand that it's fun to be like, yes, and they may watch this later, so take that. Yeah, it's awesome.
It was great. It was great. Honestly, it felt so good to finally, like, it was awesome. Makes it even more worth it. But yeah, I completely agree. Like, a card like Sabbath, because you hate it so much, can like bring those emotions out, which is awesome. I love that.
My friends, we're going to keep talking to Ash for another 10 or so minutes, but if you have any questions for Ash or questions for us, questions about veterans, question about homecoming, whatever you want, drop it in the chat, tag me at McBearded, and we are going to just talk to you guys real quick before we wrap up the show here at 4. We'll see you after this short break. All right, my friends. Once again, we are supported by our commandos. Our patrons at patreon.com/commandershorn. I've got yet another revamp to the Patreon coming for homecoming, but I've started the content. I have a couple people helping me out with that. So you can start off by, like I said at the top of the show, you can check out my free article, Why I'm Optimistic About Gwent, talking about homecoming, talking about my time with Gwent, and why you should be excited that CD Projekt Red has handled the Witcher brand so well, and the game is going to be just a good Witcher game, even though it might come at a cost of familiarity and nostalgia. So you can check that out at patreon.com/commandershorn. We have some questions for sure coming in from chatter. Misha, is it an eye there? My eyes. Misha Luli or Micha Luli. So let's just start doing this lightning round style. What deck do you wish to be good and isn't currently?
I mean, obviously, like, we're all, for me, either Queensguard or discard Skellige, but preferably discard Skellige because I really, really like that. Yeah.
Discard Skellige. You guys may not remember. This is way back. One of my YouTube videos that is probably more popular than any of my other videos by 30,000 views, I think, and that's a lot considering I don't get a ton of views on, like, I don't get like that kind of views on most of my videos. But one that I did a long time ago was called 3-Bore, and I was playing discard Skellige with Johnny when Sig could res Johnny, and I just played Johnny after Johnny after Johnny, and I got T-Bore, and it was I just dropped 22-point T-Bore after 22-point T-Bore, and it was the most amazing game I've ever played of Gwent. But it was all because of discard Skellige, and I love that deck.
I gotta watch that video.
Yeah, it's an old one. It's got a bunch of weird stuff, like the old pirate captains that grew when you discard stuff. Like they were kind of like Doblathanis sentries. Every time you discarded, they got stronger. So like it's like the deck's different, obviously, because all the cards are different. But man, that was a video that just
the good old days.
It's like this is what I should be trying to do every day. Duh.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is the most broken card that needs a rework? He says at each color. Ashlizzlle, or he or she says that at each color. Let's just do the one that comes to the top of your head.
Broken. I mean, broken is like such a hard word. I think cards overall, like I have a list of cards overall that I think need to get a slight rework. Like obviously there was an entire discussion recently about like a seer that needs to be changed because like how strong she can be.
It's the spy. I don't know.
Yeah. So I think I would like, if it was up to me, I would probably rework a seer. Even though I love the card, I would probably rework Heim too, because in certain matchups, like, he just carries. Probably rework Aglaeus too, because that is just, she is just absolutely mental. So strong.
8 strength so on that strong. Card is
it's
crazy.
Insane. Yeah.
I always feel like that when she drops like a monster's nest. I'm just like, oh, yeah. Monster's nest plus 8 points.
Yeah.
I know.
You'd be happy to see that just like dry out of your hand without any tutor monster's nest. You'd be happy, but like plus 8 points, that's just so strong. I would also say probably, I mean, obviously Sabbath. Like, I don't think it's right to need to have a certain card in your deck, else you're just screwed.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, those are the cards that would come to mind to me.
Yeah, because it's tough, right? It's like the cards that feel like, when they feel broken, they feel like, well, like, I mean, Sabbath, yes, counterable card. Yes, you can make decks with the counters in it and still make good decks. Yes, it shouldn't be that much of a threat. But when you don't have the answer, you've just lost right there in the middle of round 2. Like, It's like a 3-round game. I feel like, and, you know, other decks, you know, back in the day when carryover was a huge threat and you could have, like, massive carryover dwarves sticking around and you could just never beat that carryover. Anytime Gwent doesn't feel like I actually have a chance to win the game in a 3-round system, like I've already lost the game in round 1 or I've already lost the game in round 2, that's where I feel like the card, there's a problem for the game, because the game is supposed to be encouraging 3-round format, strategic passing and playing, maximizing your odds in rounds. And if I am actually 100% done because my opponent played a card that I don't have an answer to, it's one thing to be theoretically out of a game because your deck can't beat their deck. That happens all the time. But for it to be such a hard no, it's
just a hard no.
As someone who doesn't concede very often, I'm just like, I hate playing it out too. It's just not. It's not fun for me.
Yeah.
We're gonna do one more question. Although there's a lot of questions asking about why is Clan Lizzle the best and the only true clan. When will Clan Lizzle be added to Gwent? You guys are all asking the hard questions. Of course, and but here's one more question from Guka12 that I'll read before we wrap it up here. Do you think upcoming Challenger will have even memeier decks? I'm assuming you're saying even memeier, assuming that Demorcus and maybe Molegion brought meme decks, or that Andy Wan with Aguara brought meme decks, or they actually brought cards that were very interesting techs against what they expected to play.
Yeah,
I think yes, we will. And Sihil, like, is it a meme if there is a strategy that built around it and the players played it well and they got value and they ended up getting far in the, like, where do you put a meme? Where do you put the word meme in? I think there's a lot to unpack in this question. What do you think, Ash?
I mean, meme. I it's so. What I would consider a meme, bring a meme to the Challenger would be like Gambi, you know, like
Gambi. Ugh.
So yeah, something like that. I don't think they'll like bring meme decks. I definitely think they will bring decks that we do not see, or they will try to like invent their own stuff. Because obviously, like in tournaments, that surprise factor is huge. Like it is absolutely huge. I think it's crucial. Like, wasn't it like Freddy Babes, I believe, in the second Challenger that like had an like not really common like a lineup, which obviously, like, if your opponent, like these guys on Pro, they're like, you're training like every day, they know what the meta looks like. If you're bringing like meta decks straight forward to like a tournament, like the opponent will know exactly how to play against it. That's why it's probably like smart, in my opinion, to like bring memeier cards like Seahill, because they're not prepared for that. And because of like it was Pro Neo, right? Bringing Seahill, like now you're actually finding out that Seal's actually a great card in Veterans, because even if you do not
archers,
get odd, even if you do not get odd or even, I'm even running the card without archers. Like the hunters do 5 damage also. Like it can just find so much. Even if you top deck Seal round 3 and you can just get a card out of your deck, like you got your, even at some point 16-point bear, so you still play a 16-point gold with some thinning in there, you know. So it's a great synergy, and it might seem meme like at the tournament, but we are just finding out that it has so much strength. Like the same, like you already mentioned before, like Aguara with Andy Wand.
Yeah, it countered Herald Houndstone.
Like, such a great card. Like I think the memes are needed for tournaments if you want to win, you know. So I'm excited to see some more.
Yeah, it wasn't even that it just countered Herald Houndstone. It was also that he knew that I think because the Herald Genja combo, I'm not sure if it originated in or was. I can't remember the exact fact, so now I feel like I'm going to get misquoted. But the idea was that the Chinese meta, Herald Houndsnout and Genja, was a really commonly seen thing on Pro Ladder. So it was because there was 2 Chinese players in that particular tournament. It was just a little extra push for him to be like, you know what, maybe I'm actually going to run this. Ash, it's been such a pleasure talking to you about Veterans and catching up with you and getting to know you and to have your people in the chat. Where can people find you when you are streaming, when you're tweeting, when you're doing anything on the internet? Where can people find you?
Thank you so much, first of all, for having me. It was awesome. Really, really enjoyed it. I would say twitch.tv/Ashlizzle. That's like ZZL. And on Twitter, it's Ashlizzle with like ZZL.
Yeah. Which I thought you actually, for some reason, I thought that's actually how you spelled your name.
It's all really weird. I wish I didn't choose like that difficult of a name when I was starting off. So, but yeah, that's where you can find me. So come check me out if you can.
Yeah. And I'm McBeard at McBeardCH on Twitter. You can find me where you're watching this right now at McBearded on Twitch. And I'm also McBeard on YouTube. And we will wrap up the show here. Once again, you can find the podcast on Twitter at Commander's Horn. And you can email us at commandershorn at commandershornpodcast@gmail.com. You'd think that I would know how to do an outro for my own show. We're going to pass the host over to Mana Burn Events, where my friend Flake is hosting a show with Joe Snow, and Powell Berja is going to be on the show. So I'm sure that is of much interest for those of you watching the live stream right now. So you can head on over there right now. And until next time, this is McBeard for Ashlizzle. To everybody, thanks for joining us, and best of luck on the path.
We good?